Channel 5 Network. This is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. A good show tonight, important show tonight. We're talking about something that is certainly in the news. We're talking all about the Metro Police Department, whether it's staffing or morale or even a lawsuit that was filed yesterday. Plenty to discuss. We want to hear from you. Happy to have with us James Smallwood, President of the Fraternal Order of Police, the police union. Thank you for being here.
Okay, you're welcome.
Coming on and answering questions. We're going to have the mayor on tomorrow night. And so I want to ask you, as we get started here, what would you say to the mayor kind of about where things stand right now in the police department? What would you say to him?
Well, I think Mayor Briley needs to look at some of the messages we've sent him. Morale is at an all-time low, and he knows that, and we've told him that. Staffing is just going down and down and down, and at the time we posted a billboard that said we had 108 officers, there are 108 vacancies in the police department. We're now at 117. Police officers don't feel like they have the support of the city and their administration, and therefore they're turning and going to other departments or other professions, and we need to show them that they are supported, that they are appreciated, do the right thing and pay them what they're worth and support them when they're right, and I think we can manage this and turn the boat around.
So when the new police station opened, you put up a billboard. Kind of walk us through that. Why did you put that up? So you kind of went over what it said, but how did that all come about?
Well, it just seems like our message isn't being heard. We have told them over and over and over again that there's a staffing issue, that there's a morale issue, and unfortunately it rose to the level where we had to make it a public spectacle, because when we relay that message quietly or behind closed doors, however you want to put it, nothing is done. And until we start making noise, it seems to be that's the only way you can accomplish anything. Our police officers are leaving, and we're at a staffing level that is critical in the police department because morale is down, because promises aren't being kept, because officers aren't being supported. So we had to send a message, and that was the only way we could get it out there publicly.
And was it, here it is. All right, was it up for one day, is that right?
It was, yes.
It was just up for one day, and that was the day that they were having the grand opening,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the mayor was there. Now, the mayor commented, right during this ceremony, we asked him about it. I think we can play that, and then I'll ask you about what he said. So the mayor commented on the billboard. Let's listen to that.
We're going to look out for our police. We're going to find a way to compensate them at the appropriate amount, and what their union has to do in terms of putting a billboard up's got no impact on that, zero impact.
So he says the billboard has zero impact. We will compensate our police and all of that. What do you have to say about what he said?
Well, frankly, the fact that we're sitting here talking about it and the fact that he had to respond to it shows that it had some impact. But to say that he's going to completely ignore or the fact that the employee group or the employee voice has zero impact on what he does, that's pretty disturbing. He's got 1,440-ish employees right now who have sent him a message saying you're not treating us fairly, you're not paying us fairly, you're not supporting us, and we need that to change. And he just got on television and said that has zero impact on what I'm going to do, and that's disappointing because that's not what a leader does. A leader listens to the concerns of the people that he's leading, and he adjusts to make sure that they're treated fairly. Now,
he also said he's going to compensate fairly. And he's been on the show before and says that he wants to get this pay raise. Now, obviously, all Metro employees were promised a pay raise. That didn't happen. Now we don't know what's going to happen in this next budget cycle. Mayor Briley, that promise wasn't made under Mayor Briley. Is that right? It was made by the mayor before him.
It was made by Mayor Berry, but I'll remind you that Briley was the vice mayor when it was voted in by council, and he didn't have anything negative to say about it then. So sure, it was made by Mayor Berry, and it was supported by Mayor Briley, now Mayor Briley, who was then Vice Mayor Briley at the time.
What are you hearing? Are you hearing that, do you believe there will be a 3% pay raise in this upcoming budget?
We have received no information one way or the other than they're trying to fund a COLA, but we would remind the city that they owe us 6%. So anything short of that is still a broken promise.
So COLA is a cost of living adjustment. And so, yeah, you put up there on the billboard 108 positions were currently unfilled. Let's talk about that. What is happening is that number even higher now? Kind of where are we with staffing levels?
It is. I think at last check it was 117. So it's certainly increased since the billboard, and it's going up and up. I'm getting reports from people every single day who have plans to leave, and they're looking for an exit strategy, or they've already found another job. It's a very concerning trend. They don't feel like they have the support of the administration. They don't feel like this mayor or the city council supporting them, or even some members in the community supporting what they do. And they also don't feel like they're being paid a fair wage. So they're going to other cities where they know they're getting the support they need, and their administration is going to stand behind them when they're right.
And what do you mean by support? Is that pay? Is that what you mean?
It's a global thing. It's pay, it's support when we've done our jobs. It's realizing that we're doing a hard job every day, day in and day out, and we don't have enough people to do that job. There are so many things within the police department that our officers are doing every day, and we're asking them to do even more and work even harder and even longer every single day, but they're not getting any additional support, they're not getting any additional funding, they're not getting the equipment they need, and we're expecting them to fill the gap. And it's come to a breaking point where we just can't make it up anymore.
And when you say officers are leaving, they're retiring. They're not retiring. They're leaving early, right? So they're going to surrounding. What are they doing?
They are going to surrounding counties or getting out of law enforcement altogether. Now, some of them will be marked as taking a pension, but you can take a pension and freeze it up to as soon as 10 years on the job. Now your pension will be literally nothing on the other end, but you're quote unquote retiring from the department because you're vested into the system. So there are folks that are 10, 15, 20-year veterans who could serve another 10, 15, 20 years, but have decided I'm going to walk away, and those are called pensions. But there are certainly some that are 5, 7-year veterans who are leaving, and we had one recently just as much as 8 months who left the department after 8 months of service, and he was the top candidate in his police recruit class and a very stellar officer, and he left and went to Lebanon Police Department to serve them.
Now, there was a lawsuit filed yesterday. I feel like this is a very divisive time within the community. This lawsuit talks about a culture of fear, violence, and racism within the department. So this is a lawsuit in which Metro is being sued, and a police officer that was involved in shooting someone who was running. And what you sent out a statement. What's your thought on this lawsuit that was filed yesterday?
You know, we kind of expected the other side to file a civil lawsuit. It's not something that's unexpected. Doesn't mean that we believe that it's appropriate. Certainly we think that there are so many inaccuracies in that lawsuit that are going to be debunked in a trial down the road after the criminal trial has gone through. It's very concerning, some of the language in there, that they've made some accusations against police officers that just simply aren't true. So that's disturbing.
The things that aren't true, what concerns you the most?
It's a 37-page document. I would have to go through it point by point, and I don't have it memorized. I just read it for the first time yesterday.
There's some statements in here that, here's one, the department has internalized, or the officer involved, Officer Delkey, internalized Metro Police Department's culture of fear, violence, proactive policing, and racism. What about that? I
mean, that's absolutely untrue. I mean, that entire sentence just it doesn't make any sense for the way that this police department operates. I've never seen a government entity as diverse and inclusive and sensitive to those things as the police department is, and to throw that out there and say that's the way we operate, it's just not true.
It's clear this upcoming trial involving Officer Delkey is incredibly divisive. You have one side saying, they've talked about you all at the FOP, saying you're trying to try this in the public, that some of the things you've posted out there on social media indicate you're trying to sway a potential jury pool. What do you say about that?
No, it's all about getting the truth out there, and you know, frankly, we're not the ones that got on television before a single fact was released and said that Officer Delkey was guilty of first-degree murder. Officer Delkey is innocent until proven guilty, and he should remain that way. Unfortunately, there is a certain group of people in this community that would like to see it the other way around, guilty until proven innocent. That's not the way it should be. Our mission is to get the truth out there, because there's been so many things put out that just simply are not true true or don't contain all the facts. So many people in Nashville don't realize that Daniel Hambrick was carrying a semi-automatic loaded handgun and pointed it at the officer. And when you tell them that, their eyes are like, "You're kidding me, he had a gun? Nobody told me he had a gun." So many people don't realize the important facts, the contributing facts to what happened in this case, that we feel it's important that we get the information out there so that the community knows that their police department and that this police officer did the right thing that day.
And what would you say, as far as when we're talking about morale, how much does this case play into the situation you say is in the department now, the low morale?
Oh, it absolutely damages the morale level and lowers it. You had a violent convicted felon who refused to drop a weapon and pointed it at a police officer, and the officer was forced to use lethal force. No police officer wakes up wanting to do that, but that day Officer Delkey was forced to do that because a semi-automatic loaded handgun was pointed at him. Now he's being arrested. He's done exactly what the city trained him to do, exactly what the city asked him to do, and now we're arresting that officer for doing exactly what he was told.
Now I know we'll get people on the other side will say he was running. He was shot in the back. He was shot as he was fleeing, and that's why this is so disturbing on so many levels. So people say that. What do you say?
Well, you know, police officers have a duty to protect. They cannot just disengage from a violent convicted felon who has a gun in his hand running through a neighborhood. To say that we should have disengaged and called for backup, there's no telling what he would have done if he went another block with that gun in his hand. Also, the fact that he had the gun pointed at the officer one time and gave targeting glances shows that he was an immediate threat to Officer Delkey. And there are several different examples from across the country and in Nashville alone where in full stride in a foot pursuit that police officers have been shot and injured or killed by the suspect who pointed a gun at them in full stride. So the fact that he was running is irrelevant to the fact that he was holding a loaded semi-automatic gun and pointed at the police officer.
What do you think? Obviously you're saying morale is very low right now. Even just as we were putting the show together, we're seeing tweets back and forth on all kinds of sides from Community Oversight Now and other groups. I saw one tweet where someone said, "Well, I support both sides." You know, and I think a lot of people are there. Is there? Can we get past this? What is it going to take to get past this, and how divided are we now, in your opinion?
Well, you know, and this isn't my quote, I'm stealing it from somebody else. I don't think we're as divided as we are disconnected. I think there's a lot of information that doesn't get clearly placed out there for people to consume, and then people draw conclusions without all of the facts. I think if communications are up and people know all of the facts, then they can draw more reasonable conclusions. Unfortunately, circumstances like this have caused some division in the community. We hope to be able to repair that, and the FOP is proactively working to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to accomplish some things in the near future that shows we are.
All right, we're going to take a break now. That kind of sets the table. Then we're going to start taking phone calls. We also have some clips from somebody from Community Oversight Now that I interviewed a couple of weeks ago. We'll play some of those clips as well. But we'll take a break. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.